Hello, everybody. How are you all doing today? I figured today we tell a nice little story, something a little lighthearted. And here's one fanfic reading that never made it to my YouTube channel. Fluttershy gets a shot. Fluttershy goes to the doctor's office and to get a shot. She is, of course, terrified. This fanfic is written by Lucky7 and begins as such.
Okay, Fluttershy, you can do this.
The nervous Pegasus pony pushed open the door of the Ponyville Hospital and found herself shaking as she approached the front counter. The clerk working gave her a smile, but it didn't do anything to calm her nerves. She did her best to crack a smile, trying to formulate a greeting, rather. Why, oh why did she have to be so scared of the doctor's office? They held ponies, yet she always found herself totally uncomfortable.
Come on, Fluttershy, this is for your own good.
She scolded herself, trying to work up the courage to speak. After a few moments, she cleared her throat.
Hi. I need to see Dr. Horse, please.
Certainly, the mayor smiled. You'll just need to fill out this form. Fluttershy took the clipboard that was offered to her and pressed over the seat while waiting and pranced over the seat while waiting in the waiting room. That had gone well enough, but the hardest part lay ahead. There were a few other ponies waiting in the room with her, but she mostly kept to herself as she filled out her form. There was only one little colt that kept kicking her seat, but she did her best to ignore it as she signed her name, followed by the date. Fluttering over the corner, she handed the clipboard and her papers held tight back to the clerk.
Thank you very much, Fluttershy. Nurse Redheart will be with you momentarily.
Fluttershy nodded. She flew back to her seat.
Momentarily? Who knows how long that could be? It could be stuck here for hours, for days. Oh gosh, what if I have to spend the rest of my life here? I gotta get out of...
Fluttershy! Nurse Redheart's unmistakable voice tore her with scared thoughts, and she let out a sigh.
Oh, she meant a few seconds.
Fluttershy got up and made her way over to the nurse. She'd come to see, however, over the years in Ponyville.
Hello, Nurse Redheart.
Good afternoon, Fluttershy, Redheart replied, letting the doorway to the waiting room slam shut behind them. Fluttershy jumped at the noise, and Redheart kissed her. Every time. Fluttershy chuckled nervously.
Sorry.
It's fine, Redheart smiled, stopping just as the pair were about to round the corner. She motioned towards a scale and placed it up against the wall. Please step on the scale so we can have your weight. Fluttershy climbed on the scale and watched It landed right where she thought it would be.
105 pounds. Very good.
Nurse Redheart noted, writing down on Fluttershy's file.
How tall are you, Fluttershy? 4 foot 1 inch.
Fluttershy replied. This was going well, much easier than she remembered it being last time. She watched as Redheart wrote all this down, and began to off the corner. Quick to follow her, Fluttershy was led to the small room which she recognized as the doctor's office.
Would Dr. Horse be long?
Redheart smiled, as if it just
Just have a seat on the bed and he'll be with you shortly.
and with that, the door was slammed shut, and Fluttershy winced. She waited for the doctor for a bit longer than she would have liked, but there was at least a few magazines she could flip through to pass the time. Once the door opened, a light brown stallion poked his head through the door. Fluttershy? The timid Pegasus nodded her head, and Dr. Horse stepped into the room, closing the door quietly behind himself. Walking over to his desk, he took a seat quickly and went over the file. Once he was done, he spun his chair around to face her and smiled. I understand you're here about a cough that's been bothering you.
Oh, yes. It's been bothering me for a couple of weeks now.
She paused, hoping not to insult him with what she was about to say.
I actually didn't want to come here, but Rainbow Dash made me.
Well, I can assure you there's nothing to worry about it. I'm sure Miss Dash is simply looking out with the best intentions, he said, putting his stethoscope, placing it on her chest. Deep breath, please. Fluttershy did as she said, pulling a few seconds away.
This is just... I'm a bit scared of the doctor's office,
she admitted. To her surprise, Dr. Horse chuckled and went back over to her file, writing something down. Trust me, you're not alone in having that fear, Fluttershy. Anyways, your sinuses are most likely acting up as a result of all the pollen in the air in this time of year. It's nothing to worry about. Dr. Horse stopped abruptly. It was worried Fluttershy. Well, this is certainly odd.
Oh no. Is something wrong, Doctor?
According to what you filled out here, you've never had a tetanus shot, he asked, raising an eyebrow. Turning back to face her, Fluttershy's eyes widened.
Oh no. I was always too scared as a little filly to get a shot.
Well, he continued, swirling around his chair, opening the cabinet, that needs to be changed. If you don't get a tetanus shot, you could risk infection if you ever get a cut or a bruise on your skin.
Well, I'm sure that won't be so bad.
She wasn't sure who she was trying to convince, herself or the doctor. But she knew she was doing a poor job of both. She had already found out what was wrong, so what would the problem be if she didn't have a tetanus shot? Please, Fluttershy, for my sake, I would sleep better at night knowing that you didn't walk out of here without taking the prescription the protection you could against letting a bad infection winding up back here. Fluttershy let out a sigh hearing that, and slowly nodded.
All right.
Her mind changed almost immediately when she saw the size of the needle he pulled out of the cabinet, though. and she practically flew back into the wall from him. He let out a sigh as her eyes turned to pinpricks. Fluttershy, I promise you this is not as painful as you believe it will be. It's just a little prick. Fluttershy wasn't having any of his lies, though, and flew out of the room trying to avoid them, knocking over numerous items as she did.
No, no, please, I don't want to die.
It's not going to kill you, he shouted, grabbing her with his magic. She closed her eyes in fear. Brown brought the needle and approached her. I didn't want to have to do this, Fluttershy, but you leave me no choice. The next thing Fluttershy felt was a tiny pinch on her right foreleg for a few seconds, then nothing.
What?
All done. He sounded annoyed. But you completely wrecked my office. Fluttershy took a look around. There were several vials were broken on the floor, papers everywhere, a few paintings had been knocked off the walls, and she knocked over a plant, spilling the soil everywhere. Chuckling nervously, she turned back to face him.
Uh, at least it didn't hurt.
The end.
And that was another story from Carmo. Not spooky this time, more like silly, a slice of life from the series of My Little Pony. Have a good night, everyone, and see you next time for another story with SGF 95 fighter known as Carmo as the storyteller.
Thank you.